Good morning, agents, and welcome to another daily episode of Targeted Loot today for Sunday, December 20th. In this series, we cover a lot. We got the Dark Zone exclusives that we can farm for, Targeted Loot map, highlights for the weekly vendor resets, and build and farming suggestions as well. I'm Shadow Gaming, and if you enjoy this video, consider pressing the subscribe and like buttons below, and remember to comment below if you have any questions whatsoever. Otherwise, let's get this video started. Alright guys, so starting off with the Dark Zones and of course the vendor reset highlights, which are always going to be in a bottom left overlay, and probably the main thing that I would just point out is that Punch Drunk mask over in the campus. I would definitely go pick up this week. It's, basically God rolled, and of course all you have to do is reroll that weapon damage to 15%, and it is God rolled completely. Otherwise, it's pretty much all I really recommend this week. Now moving on to actual targeted loot in the Dark Zones in DZ West and over in the East Side, we got a lot to farm for today. So of course with backpack targeted loot, there's 4 backpacks that are Dark Zone exclusives, and here's what they are. It's the Liquid Engineer with Perfect Bloodsucker, the Matador with Perfect Adrenaline Rush, the Gift with Perfect Vigilance, and the Devil's Due with Perfect Clutch. Now what I would personally farm for is that Gift with Perfect Vigilance for sure, the Liquid Engineer as well, and the Matador. The Devil's Due, I just really don't think it's worthwhile anymore. Alright guys, next up over here in DZ South, we got Empress's targeted loot. Now there is no Dark Zone exclusive, the battery pack and the Caesar's Guard chest piece are not Dark Zone exclusive, so now let's move on to the main attraction for today. Now of course that submachine gun targeted loot in DZ East. I always tell you guys that the Dark Winner and the Apartment with Perfectly Measured, of course Dark Winner with Perfect Killer are Dark Zone exclusives. So today is the day to finally farm for those for any of your Hunter's Fury builds or the True Patriot Memento builds. Basically my favorite DPS builds in the entire game utilizes the Dark Winner, and even the Apartment sometimes. They're both very, very worth farming for. The Apartment has Perfectly Measured as the closest thing to the house from the Division 1 that you can get. And of course, Perfect Killer, you get an insane amount of crit hit chance and crit hit damage when you activate Perfect Killer. And that's all you have to do is kill someone with a crit hit chance, a crit hit shot. And then that's it, you get it. And which you'd be surprised how often a crit kills an NPC. But yeah, other than that, that's it for the Dark Zones. Now let's go check out what we got on the north side. Alright guys, over here in the north side targeted loot highlights, starting off real quick to let you guys know, Grand Washington Hotel is invaded this week. Now I've run it already, so go to mission settings and then of course toggle mission mode, and then it'll reset it to invaded. So if you haven't gotten Puck's blueprint yet to craft the Nemesis of the White House, definitely get that this week. That's just a daily reminder to do that. Alright guys, now back to the targeted loot for Northside. We got Badger Tough at Camp White Oak. You can of course farm for that 0S chest piece with Perfect Unbreakable. Every 55 seconds your armor breaks, it restores 100% of it. It's a great DPS hybrid chest piece. Next up, we got Tip of the Spear, Coney Island Ballpark. Now I just normally don't recommend this. It increases spec weapon damage. I do have a theory crafted build that might be useful with 4 pieces of Tip of the Spear and the Memento backpack, but I just haven't tried it yet. So if you guys want to try it out or have, comment below and let me know if it was any good. Of course, Gila Guard at Coney Island Amusement Park is for your shield build users, and Mass at Manny National Zoo, there's 2 exotic masks that you can farm for. Now that's going to be the Coyotes mask for your DPS builds, team, group, and solo, and then of course you got the Vile mask for status effects and skill damage. Now for a name mask like the Punch Drunk, I would just highly recommend not even farming for it and just buying it at that campus vendor. There's no point in farming for it if you can get a God rolled one at the campus vendor. So that's it pretty much for the north side. Alright guys, now we're over here on the west side targeted loot highlights, starting off with gear sets. We got Strikers at Tidal Base and Stronghold. Now remember, like I always say, Strikers is only really worthwhile with 3 pieces for like a Merciless build. That's about it though. The 4 pieces is not worth any extra damage. Next up, we got Negotiator's Dilemma at DCDHQ. I always recommend my double LMG build, and I always put my build videos in the top right cards. Remember, 4 pieces, Negotiator's Dilemma, the Coyotes Mask, and Grupo Sombro Gloves is a really great crowd control and DPS build. Just mix it with a Pestilence and another, LMG of your choice, and then it's actually pretty good. I haven't used it in a while, but when I used it back in Title Update 10, it was really fun. And lastly, there's Hardwired at Downtown West. I really just don't even recommend Hardwired anymore. In lieu of that, I would just switch it for the Rigor gear set if you're looking for instant cooldowns instead of less cooldowns. And if you're looking for the new assault turret striker drone build, it's 3 pieces of Empress, 2 pieces of Hana U, or 1 Hana U, 1 Wyvernware. And then of course you have the Force Multiplier backpack with perfect combined arms, and then kinetic momentum chest piece, and then also you want the waveform holster with the capacitor, new assault rifle. Now moving on to just normal target loot, we got rifles at Bank HQ. So remember, you got 2 exotic rifles you can farm for, the Merciless and the Diamondback, both of which I really don't even recommend. But what I do recommend is some name rifles like the Surge with perfect spike and the Baker's Dozen with perfect lucky shot if that's, your jam instead of damage talents. And for the damage talents, I would go with Boomerang, Rifleman, and Ranger. Those are the 3 best damage, talents you can put on a rifle in this game. So I'd recommend putting one of those on. I really like Boomerang and Ranger. Next up, we got shotguns at Constitutional Hall. Now, of course, you got the one new exotic shotgun. That's the Scorpio, and we already had the Sweet Dreams with the Sandman talent, where you can melee one-hit kill red and purple bar enemies, which is pretty cool on skill builds. But really, I would just go with the Scorpio. It stun locks enemies. It makes rogue encounters just cakewalk. It's just a really good overall weapon. I use it with my 4-piece Hunter's Fury, Memento backpack, and Death Grip gloves, and it's just an amazing shotgun. The Scorpio is. Otherwise, there's 3 amazing shotguns in this game. The Mop with 10% armor on kill, the Custom M8 70, and the Marine Super 90 with close and personal rolled on them. Next up, we got Walker Harris & Co. at Foggy Bottom. This is where you could farm for that Chain Killer chest piece with Perfect Headhunter. A headshot build cannot go without that. It just gives you way too much extra damage. It's just, you could chain so many headshots together if you're good enough as well. And I always run the Mantis as well with any Chain Killer chest piece. Just keep that in mind on any headshot damage build, really. Next up, we do have gear system mods at Lincoln Memorial. Now, this stands out to me because Lincoln Memorial is a very fast mission to run through. I can get through this in 8 minutes or less with that Hunter's Fury build I just told you about. And, it's 3 bosses at the end, and it's gear system mods. So if you guys are looking for that 6% crit hit chance mod, 12% crit hit damage mod, 13% protection from elites, whatever you're looking for that's a maxed out mod, this is actually better to farm than Legendary Summit in my opinion. So definitely check out Lincoln Memorial. I know I'll be checking it out today for sure. And really, last thing I'm going to mention would be Providence Defense at White House. You could farm for the Sacrifice with Perfect Glass Cannon, which is great for DPS builds and skill builds as long as you're comfortable with the 60% amplified damage to yourself as well. And yeah, anyway, the real actual last thing that I could mention is assault rifles at West Atomic Park. So remember, 2 exotic rifles now you could farm for in the LZ. That's the Chameleon with Adaptive Instincts and the Capacitor. Now the Capacitor you first off get from 5 summit challenges, and then that's it. It joins the general targeted loot pool, and then you could farm assault rifle targeted loot after that. As far as the Chameleon goes, you just need to farm assault rifle, targeted loot to get it as well. For the named assault rifles, I would highly recommend the Test Subject with Perfectly in Sync, the Mechanical Animal with Future Perfection, the Burnout named FAMAS, and the Maniac named Military AKM. And really guys, that's about it that I would recommend on the west side. Now let's go check out what we got on the east side. Alright guys, now we're over here on the east side, targeted loot highlights. Starting off with the gear sets, which you only have one, like yesterday, that was really cool. So Foundry Bulwark, remember, the chest and backpack are raid exclusive to the Iron Horse raid. Otherwise, any other piece you can farm for outside of that Iron Horse raid. This is for tank builds. You want to take this into a raid or a legendary just to soak up absurd amounts of damage. Otherwise, I haven't found any other use for it. Alright guys, for the normal targeted loot, starting off we got Overlord at District Union Arena. You could farm for those Fox's Prayer knee pads with 8% damage to targets out of cover. Remember, that's multiplicative damage, the best type of damage in this game. You could put that on or off a rifle build. It works either way, especially with the 10% damage targets out of cover on your weapon, so always keep that in mind when you're building. Next up, what I'd recommend is Petrov over Grand Washington Hotel. You can of course farm for the Contractor's Gloves with 8% damage to armor. Goes great on any LMG build or stacking damage to armor. Next up, we got gloves targeted loot at Viewpoint Museum. Now, you could farm for those BTSU gloves, but really, I would farm for them when it's invaded mission gloves targeted loot. It gives you a little bit extra chance, and the BTSU gloves I never really use. I haven't found a big use for them, even in the skill damage meta of Title Update 12, so you can farm for them if you want. It grants overcharge to all your teammates as long as they're skill tier 6 as well, but otherwise I don't see much use in them. Next up, we got light machine guns at American History Museum. So of course you could get the 2 exotics, Bullet King and Pestilence. The Bullet King never having to reload, but with a lower base damage. And then the Pestilence, you can get that damage tick per second over 1,000,000. with that Negotiator's Dilemma build I mentioned earlier, and it just has a big magazine size, throw a little bit of weapon handling on it, and it reloads a lot faster as well, instead of taking 6 seconds. As far as the named LMGs go, I'd recommend the Carnage with Perfect Status, which I believe you could purchase from the DZ East vendor this week as well. And then of course you can also get the Good Times with Perfect Fast Hands. Probably my favorite would be the new Reliable with Perfectly Optimized, and there's some others will be in the bottom left overlay. Next up, we got holsters at Air and Space Museum. There's 2 exotic holsters you could farm for here, one for skill damage and status effects being the Imperial Dynasty holster, and then of course the Dodge City holster for your DPS headshot damage and pistol builds. For a name holster, you could farm of course the Forge with 50% shield health, which is a whole extra, skill tier worth of shield health, which is what it's equivalent to. So that would be good for any shield build users not using the claws out, I assume. Last 2 things I'll mention is knee pads and Hana U. Hana U at Space Admin, you could farm the Force Multiplier backpack with perfect combined arms, giving you 30% skill damage every 3 seconds that you land a shot on an NPC or player. It's a most sought after backpack in TU12 for sure. And then lastly, you got knee pads at Jefferson Plaza. There's 2 exotics you can look for. That would be the Ninja Bike Messenger knee pads for your DPS builds, and the Sawyer's knee pads as well, but I would put that on a Bighorn build or a rifle build because you're sitting still more often, or a skilled or tank build. Otherwise, guys, honestly, I'm just going to move on to New York City now. I don't see anything else really worth talking about or farming for. Alright guys, last but not least, we're at New York City Target Loot highlights, starting off with the gear sets, which I guess this is where they were all hiding. Hunter's Fury over at Liberty Island. This is an SMG and shotgun damage gear set. Now, like I said earlier, 4 pieces of Hunter's Fury, the Death Grip gloves, and the Memento backpack probably is my favorite build, even in TU12 with the skill damage build still. And I use the Dark Winter and the Scorpio. They just absolutely shred and melt through content. Or you could use a Sokolov chest with, I use Obliterate to be totally honest, and I use 3 red cores and 4 armor cores and 1 skill tier from the Memento backpack, of course. Those are my 2 favorite builds, aside from the True Patriot I'm about to mention in a second. Next up, we got Ongoing Directive at Wall Street. Now, Ongoing Directive had this totally different build, a bleed build, which you could still use, but I think I have a better one. So that would be 4 pieces of Ongoing Directive, a Badger Tough backpack with Creeping Death, and the Vile Mask is a really good status effect DPS build I definitely recommend you guys try out. Next up, we got True Patriot at 2 Bridges. Now, this has been probably my highest viewed video, so I assume everyone really likes this build, and I like it second favorite. It's 4 pieces of True Patriot, the Memento backpack, and a Sokolov chest piece with Intimidate, running the Lady Death and the Scorpio. So it would be the Scorpio and the Dark Winter. Or you could run the Lady Death and the Mop with 10% armor on kill. Either way, it's really good for solo and group, even Legendary Solo Summit. So those are all the build, the recommendations I would use to run that build on those type of content. Next up, we got Aces and Eights at Stranded Tanker. This is a great headshot damage build, gear set. So what I mix is 3 pieces of Aces and Eights, 2 pieces of Heralda Holding, one of those being a backpack with Vigilance or Composure, and the Chainkiller chest piece with Perfect Headhunter, and I run the Mantis. And as the secondary, I run the Ecom's Long Stick with Perfect Ranger. That is a really good headshot damage build, and it utilizes 3 or 4 pieces of Aces and Eights, so it's not too hard to farm for, really. Roll headshot damage on everything, weapon handling, and weapon damage, because crit hit chance and crit hit damage just don't really matter that much in a headshot damage build. You want that headshot damage above 200%. Last gear set we got is Future Initiative at the Tombs. Remember, chest and backpack, just like Future Initiative or like Foundry Bulwark, they're raid exclusive, the chest and backpack. So keep that in mind when you're farming for it, and if you can't do the Iron Horse raid for whatever reason, just remember a great alternative is going to be an Alp Summit chest piece and backpack with Safeguard on the backpack and Empathetic Resolve on the chest piece. That is an amazing alternative, healer build. And really, guys, that's probably all I would recommend over here. Seska's for that extra 10%, crit hit chance. Fenris for your assault rifle damage. Alp Summit is great for a healer build. And then China Light for explosive skill damage builds. That's pretty much all I can recommend for New York City, guys. Alright, agents. Well, that was the Target Loot for today. Thank you so much for watching, especially if you guys watched till the end. And remember, subscribe, like, and share if you enjoyed my content. It means a lot to me. And also, if you turn those bell notifications on, you'll always get my daily video uploads every morning. If you would like to become a member, you can click the join button below for extra support. And thank you and shout out to all 5 of my members that are still joined to this channel. Shadow gave me merch, all that stuff. The link will be in the video description below, as well as the pinned comment below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I work really hard on this content every morning, and I'm always working on extra stuff as well. So, keep that in mind and stay tuned. I'm working on quite a few extra things. Otherwise, guys, take care. Be sure to stay tuned for more daily Division 2 content. This is Agent Shadow signing off. I will see you in the next video. Take care, agents.